Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Paldea Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Lokix. Lokix has a pretty cool typing. It's a Bug and Dark type Pokemon, and as for the moveset, it's running Bug Bite, X-Scissor, and Dark Pulse. Lokix can be used in either the Great League or in the Ultra League. The Ultra League requires a massive amount of XLs, which obviously I wasn't able to get in one day, so I'm going to be testing it out in some Great League practice battles to see how it performs. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Lokix in action in the Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a very nice lead, Lokix into defense Deoxys. Deoxys is one of Lokix's best meta matchups. Due to the dark subtyping, the Psycho Boost from Deoxys is double resisted, so they have to farm all the way up to a Thunderbolt if they want to deal any meaningful damage. But as you can see, Lokix, it hits very hard, but it is very frail. These neutral counters are hitting for massive damage. Opponent safe switches into Umbreon, and their team might be a little bit weak to Bug. X-Scissor, massive damage onto the Umbreon, farming up with the Lokix, and we get the catch of the last resort onto Pelipper. That's quite nice, so we can save the Lokix for later since it seems like the Lokix has quite a bit of play into the opponent's team. I'm farming up as much as I possibly can with the Pelipper, and I'm going to be firing off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball is going to get them extremely low, but Umbreon is able to hang on. Umbreon makes the foul play, but that's not going to KO. Pelipper gets the farm down and exits this matchup with a ton of energy. Back in comes the Deoxys. I'm going for the Hurricane here to ensure the KO. Deoxys is going to let that through. In the back, it's Lickitung. Pelipper makes it to the Weather Ball, but the Lick registers, and I do not get the move. Back in comes Lokix. The Licks, of course, not doing a lot of damage due to Lokix's dark subtyping. The dark bug typing is a pretty cool one. Unfortunately, Lokix is just extremely frail, and Bug Bite not the strongest fast move. X-Scissor will be shielded, farming up with Lokix. I got some nice fast move pressure onto the Lickitung, and now in comes Cresselia. This Lickitung has a difficult task ahead of it. This is a positive matchup for Lickitung, but I got some very valuable chip damage with the Bug Bites, so now Lickitung is going to have to find a way to get rid of the extremely bulky Cresselia. Cresselia able to tank multiple body slams, fire off the Moonblast, and a second Moonblast will be lethal. Lickitung over farming as much as it possibly can, but it cannot get to enough body slams. Moonblast into the Lickitung will secure the KO. Picking up a very tough lead in the next match, Lokix into Medicham. Immediate save switch into Pelipper, opponent counter switches into a Gligar, so their team is absolutely core broken by Pelipper. The Lokix vs Medicham matchup is a battle of neutral damage. Neutral counters going up against neutral Bug Bites, but Medicham has the way better fast move and the way better stat product, so that is not a particularly close matchup. So Lokix, definitely not a fan of Medicham. That's why I did structure the team to have two pretty solid checks to Medicham in the back, because Lokix cannot stay in that matchup. I'm able to shield up the Aerial Ace, and I will fire off the Weather Ball to deny them one final Aerial Ace here. Weather Ball will get the KO. In the back, they have Charizard. Charizard trying to go for the wing attack down, but Pelipper will not be denied and grabs the final shield from the Charizard. Lokix doesn't really have anywhere to go, so I'm going to send Lokix into the Charizard. I'm going to try and make it to the Dark Pulse here. Lokix does hit incredibly hard. They go for the Blast Burn. I'm farming up. In comes the Medicham. I'm able to hold on to my energy and send in Cresselia. My goal here is basically just to stall this switch timer long enough so that after I KO the Medicham, I can just switch into the Lokix and get a combo play. I'm firing off the Moonblast. Moonblast into the Medicham will hit for massive super effective damage. I continue to farm with the Cresselia, and here, honestly, I get a bit greedy. What I should just do at this point is farm up to the back-to-back moves, and then throw one into the Medicham, but I get greedy. I try and go for a farm down here. I don't get it. They make the Psychic, and they get the combo play into the Charizard. That is not ideal, but the good news is I still have the move on Lokix. Lokix able to make it to the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse will easily KO the Charizard, and the Medicham is basically at 1 HP, so the Bug Bite will register and get the KO. We've got a battle of bugs in the next match, Lokix versus Golisopod. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start. I'm farming up with the Lokix, switching into the Pelipper, and I get the catch. Is it the Aerial Ace? Is it the X-Scissor? It's the X-Scissor. My opponent now going to send in Shadow Steelix. I'm going for the Weather Ball, and this will almost assuredly be shielded. Steelix, of course, is a Breaking Swipe user, so every Breaking Swipe they throw will lower my attack, so they have high incentive to shield the first move, as future moves will do less. Breaking Swipe will connect. I'm able to make it to one final Weather Ball just before I get KO'd. Weather Ball into the Shadow Steelix will be no-shielded. I decided to send in Cresselia here. Cresselia is a lot bulkier than Lokix, so I will be able to absorb some charge moves from the Steelix. Steelix goes for the immediate breaking swipe, farming up with the Cresselia and going for the Grass Knot. But Grass Knot is now debuffed. Cresselia doesn't have the highest attack, so Steelix is able to tank that relatively comfortably. I'm going to let this go. I can tank the breaking swipe, but my opponent is running Crunch on the Steelix. Disaster strikes, and now my Cresselia is deep into the red. I fire off the Grass Knot. Grass Knot will secure the KO, and I need a big clutch from Lokix. In comes Lokix in the back. It's Diggersby. Diggersby is running Mud Shot, and they build up to a Scorching Sands. Do they not have Fire Punch? They don't have Fire Punch. That's resisted, but my opponent does get the debuff from Scorching Sands. That is a bit unfortunate. I fire off the X-Scissor. That does not do a lot of damage since it has been debuffed. Continuing to farm, firing off the X-Scissor here. I need to manage my energy extremely carefully. They're firing off another Scorching Sands, and I will commit the shield. The Golisopod is still alive in the back. In comes the Golisopod. I'm farming up with Lokix. They're firing off the X-Scissor as soon as they get there. I'm going to look to overfarm quite a bit here. Shadow Claw not doing a ton of damage, so I can farm up and fire off the X-Scissor. X-Scissor into Golisopod will connect, and I get the farm down. It all comes down to this. I'm farming up with Lokix here, switching into Cresselia. Cresselia not going to get farmed down, so they're forced to throw a move. I need to make the back-to-back X-Scissors here. Lokix farming up to the back-to-back X-Scissors. As long as I live the Mud Shot, I win the game. X-Scissor gets the shield, but the Mud Shot KOs. Picking up a positive lead in the next match, Lokix into Obstagoon. This is honestly not bad. I'm hitting for super effective damage. Opponent save switches into Jellicent. I could have considered staying in with Lokix due to the type advantage, but Bug Bite into a Ghost type really didn't seem like a good time. So instead, I'm just going to send in Pelipper. Pelipper is able to correctly shield the nuke move of Shadow Ball, fire off the Hurricane, and Hurricane will connect. I'm farming up with Pelipper, going for the Weather Ball on the CMP tie to Shadow Ball number 2. If my opponent wants this damage, which they do, they're going to have to commit a shield. My Pelipper is pretty high rank, so I decided to trust in the Pelipper here, and the trust is rewarded as Pelipper, with a sliver of HP, is able to survive the Shadow Ball. In the back is Clefable, and I'm really happy that I've switched here, as I can put Clefable onto my Cresselia. Clefable is going to be firing off the charge move, probably the Moonblast. Moonblast connects. I'm watching for the switch. In comes Obstagoon, and Obstagoon will be answered by Lokix. Lokix firing off the X-Scissor. X-Scissor into the Obstagoon, does massive damage. Again, this thing is very, very glassy, but it outputs quite a lot of damage. They go for the Obstruct. My defense is now debuffed, and this sets up Clefable to get a pretty massive farm down. I'm going to be firing off the resisted Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse into Clefable, does some solid damage, but they're farming all the way down. That is not ideal, and I need to make it to the back-to-back Grass Knots. Moonblast here is going to come very close to KOing Cresselia, barely able to hang on. Cresselia makes it to the back-to-back Grass Knots, but can I live the Fairy Wind here? Grass Knot into Clefable, gets the shield, they win CMP. I think I have enough health where I will survive the 1 HP of damage from the shielded move, and I do. Last game I barely lost, this game I barely win, and that's a good game. Picking up a pretty tough lead in the next match, Lokix into Vigoroth. This is not a good matchup for Lokix. As you can see, if it's a type-neutral matchup, Lokix probably just loses it. Again, that's due to the fact that it's just extremely frail. They land the Body Slam. They're now going to send in Frostlass. I build up to the Hurricane. I'm baiting with the Weather Ball. Opponent reads me like a book. What a no-shield. And they're firing off the Avalanche immediately. I'm going to commit the shield. I'm going to look to farm up slightly and go for the Weather Ball. Weather Ball doesn't KO here, so even though I didn't overfarm by a lot, I will still get an extra wing attack as I get the farm down. In the back, opponent is running Bombardier, and they're running my Bombardier team from a previous video, and I think I'm about to get swept by a Bombardier. This is not good. Bombardier up energy is extremely scary. I have to try and catch a payback. I go for the catch onto Lokix, and I don't get it. That is really not good. And I believe the best case scenario for me now is I have to try and force a simultaneous KO from Lokix and Vigoroth. I don't want to give Bombardier farm. So I'm going to try and go for the simultaneous KO, but I'm one Bug Bite short. Vigoroth exits with a move, and now my only hope for a win con is a bait from Bombardier. I call the bait, payback, KOs Cresselia, and that's game over. Hopping into the next match, leading Lokix into Drapion. This will be a pretty good test as to what Lokix can do. Again, it's going to be a type neutral matchup. I resist Crunch, so they have to go for a Sludge Bomb, and that does so much damage to Lokix. I'm farming up and going for the X-Scissor just before they're able to make it to the Crunch here. X-Scissor into the Drapion, barely does not KO, and Lokix will have to give up a shield. That is really unfortunate. In comes a Wigglytuff, which absolutely erases the poor Lokix. I'm going to send in Cresselia in the back. They have Lurantis, and Lurantis up a shield is very scary here. This is not going to be a good time. They go for the Leaf Blade. A second Leaf Blade will straight up just KO the Pelipper, and the Fury Cutters are really going to add up on the Cresselia. So I'm forced to burn my final shield here, look to overfarm quite a lot, and I'm just going to go for the Weather Ball. Even if they no-shield it, that's fine. I just need damage here. Opponent lets it go. The Wing Attack gets the KO. Back in comes the Wigglytuff. I'm at the Hurricane. Again, I'm going for the Weather Ball. I just need chip damage here. I get the shield. This can only be a Weather Ball, so I'm expecting a no shield from my opponent. My opponent is going to let that go, but now I can send back in Cresselia and fire off this Moonblast. Moonblast is going to do a lot of damage. We see the shield from the Wigglytuff. I have no shields remaining on the Cresselia, but Cresselia is extremely bulky, and that's honestly what you need if you're going to run Lokix. Lokix, overall, not necessarily a Pokemon I'd recommend in its current state, but if you run it, you need bulk, as this thing cannot take a hit whatsoever, but Cresselia can and takes the win. We see a great lead in the next match, Lokix into another defense Deoxys. This Deoxys goes for a Psycho Boost. This trainer going to learn that it's double resisted, and in comes Dewgong. Dewgong, I'm going to stay in here and fire off the X-Scissor. I want to get some chip damage onto the Dewgong before I eventually send in the Cresselia. Cresselia, of course, does have Grass Knot, but oftentimes for Dewgong save switches, I like to get some chip damage first, as Dewgong, thanks to Icy Wind debuffs, is extremely oppressive, especially if it's up energy. So I'm debuffed once, I fire off the Grass Knot, that won't KO, but it will set up a pretty nice Psycho Cut farm down for the Cresselia. They go for another Icy Wind, Cresselia going for the farm down and gets it, leaving heavily debuffed but with a lot of energy. In comes Steelix, and this is not great. I'm heavily debuffed here, so I'm actually going to look to try and pivot out. I'm pivoting now into Pelipper. My opponent is going to bank a ton of energy on the Steelix and send in Deoxys. I'm overfarming and playing to the CMP tie. Hurricane will KO. Do they call the bait? They do not. Great shield from my opponent, anticipating that I would go for the Hail Mary there. My opponent built up to the Thunderbolt. They go for the Psycho Boost. They're now 2 stages debuffed, but a double debuff Thunderbolt will still hit for massive damage. So I'm going to overfarm again, playing to the CMP tie. Weather Ball will knock out. I go for the Weather Ball. It ends up being on alignment there, but a lot of Steelix players like to throw on alignment, so I figured it was worth the risk, but unfortunately in this instance, it was not, as my opponent actually threw the Dragon Tail and went to throw on good timing. I'm going to pivot back into Cresselia, going for the Grass Knot, and this is kind of the best way I've found for dealing with Steelix. It's going to involve a lot of switches, banking of energy, resetting of debuffs, and now it's time for Lokix. Lokix making it to the Dark Pulse. The big bad bully of Go Battle League, Shadow Steelix, gets KO'd by a Dark Pulse. Hopping into the final match, leading Lokix into one final defense Deoxys. A lot of people have been running defense Deoxys since it performed so well at the World Championships, and Lokix is definitely enjoying seeing defense Deoxys compared to seeing Medicham. This is enough for the Thunderbolt. I'll commit the shield. They bait with the Psycho Boost, and now they're going to send in Lickitung. Lickitung, of course, these licks are resisted by the dark subtyping. I'm firing off the X-Scissor, looking to get some chip damage, and now I'm going to send in Pelipper. Pelipper farming up. Lickitung has a ton of energy, and they're going to start to make use of it here. They go for the Body Slam into the Pelipper. Pelipper farming up, going for the Weather Ball just before they're able to throw their next charge move. Weather Ball will connect. They're firing off the charge move here. I should tank a Body Slam, but my opponent makes a very nice play going for the Power Whip. That does more, and they're able to get the KO. I get the Bug Bite down with the Lokix. In the back, it's Dewgong. I'm farming up. Opponent is going to bank energy on Dewgong and send in Deoxys. I fire off the X-Scissor, getting the KO, and I need to switch because I need to preserve the ability to reset the attack debuffs that Dewgong is about to inflict onto Cresselia. They go for the Icy Wind. I'm farming up with Cresselia, going for the Grass Knot, and this move will be shielded up by my opponent. They're trying to get as many debuffs onto Cresselia as possible to hopefully win a brutal war of attrition. They fire off the Icy Wind. I'm now 2 stages debuffed. I'm going to farm up, throwing a bunch of Psycho Cuts here, and going for the move just before they make their Icy Wind. This is a heavily debuffed Grass Knot. It still does some solid damage though, and they're firing off another Icy Wind. I'm going to commit the shield. I can switch into Lokix. I'm going to get KO'd, but now I've reset the debuff, so my Cresselia's attack is back to normal, and that will be game over as the non-debuffed Grass Knot KOs the Dugong. All in all, Lokix is a really cool Pokemon with a really cool typing that is unfortunately held back by its current fast move. I would say its lack of bulk is definitely a cause for concern as well, but we have seen Pokemon with lack of bulk but really good movesets have some pretty solid success before. Like for example, Greninja, extremely frail, but they gave it a really nice moveset, so it has some pretty nice play. I checked, and in the main series, Lokix does get counter, I believe, by an egg move, so there is potential hope for a move update in the future. So Lokix at the current moment, I can't recommend building, but it might be worth, if you find a good one, just stash it in case in future seasons it does get a move update that gives it a better fast move. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely terrific. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.